You're very welcome to Ireland AM. It is Saturday, May 20th. We're here until noon, hopefully keeping that sunny feeling going.
We need it because there's no sun out there.
Yeah, well, we're sunny.
We're sunny.
Smiley and sunny and
Our
happy.
disposition will brighten your morning. Coming up, it promises to be a massive day of sport in Dublin. We've got two big events going on as we look forward to Katie Taylor's big hometown fight and Leinster's Heineken Cup final at Yadida.
Summer's almost upon us, but have you still no idea what to do for your holier as well? We'll be answering your queries a little later on, so send them in to us.
They smashed the charts back in the 60s and 70s with hits like The Air That I Breathe and Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Now, 60 years later, they're getting the band back together. We'll be talking to Alan Clark from the Hollies.
Broadcaster Keith Walsh is representing Ireland at, wait for it, the Foot Golf World Cup. Yep, that's right. Foot golf. He'll tell us all about it after 11.
Do you need a caddy for that? Bearing in mind you just have 2 feet.
I have no idea. We'll find out later on. Birthday girl now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the birthday girl.
Birthday girl. She's looking very mature and old, isn't she?
Very mature, but she is eating Complan for her breakfast.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Katia, what are you up to?
Well, good morning. We're all shouting on the Queen of Boxing, Katie, tonight at the 3 Arena, and she's inspired us to take up the gloves and, you know, give it a lash. So we've got Paddy and Sean Heaton from Heaton Boxing, and they're going to teach us a bit of a crash course, guys. What are we learning today?
We have a fun workout plan today. We're going to learn our basic boxing stance, our basic punches, and it's something everyone at home can get involved in and try with us later on the show.
Do you reckon we'll be any good?
Yeah, I hope.
Well, fingers crossed. Well, we look forward to that later. Let's see what the world is looking like as you wake up. Aisling Roach is in the Virgin Media News Hub.
Thanks, Katia. Good morning. The US says it will allow its Western allies to supply Ukraine with advanced fighter jets, including American-made F-16s, in a major boost for Kyiv. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said US President Joe Biden informed his G7 counterparts of the decision at the bloc summit in Japan. Ukraine has long sought advanced jets, and President Vladimir Zelensky hailed the move as historic. US troops will also train Kyiv's pilots to use the aircraft.
We have turned to discussions about improving the Ukrainian Air Force as part of our long-term commitment to Ukraine's self-defense. So as the training unfolds in the coming months, we will work with our allies to determine when planes will be delivered, who will be delivering them, and how many.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has arrived in Hiroshima to join the G7 talks. It follows a visit to the Arab League summit where he accused some Arab leaders of turning a blind eye to the war. G7 leaders are meeting in Japan to discuss efforts to counter the threat of Russia.
With the threat of nuclear war at its highest in decades, hosting the summit in Hiroshima is highly symbolic. Yesterday, the leaders of the world's most powerful democracies laid wreaths to the thousands killed by the US atomic bomb. Japan wants a ban on all nuclear weapons to be high on the agenda, but for now the Group of 7 is focused on Russian ones. In a joint statement, the leaders outlined how they intend to stand firm against Russia's illegal, unjustified and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. They proposed more sanctions and threatened severe costs for third parties who provide material support to Russia's war efforts. Countries such as China, who the EU have accused of providing Moscow with technology that ends up on the battlefield. The threat of China is itself a key topic of this gathering. Aubrey Robinson, Virgin Media News.
Counting is continuing in Northern Ireland's local elections, with Sinn Féin on track to become the largest party in local government. With more than half of council seats filled, it holds the most seats returned so far, with 94. It looks like it could overtake the DUP. It would be the first time a nationalist party has held the most council seats in the north. Tens of thousands of people gathered in Belgrade to call for a crackdown on violence. The protests come amid criticism of the way Serbian government officials have handled the aftermath of 2 recent deadly mass shootings. The violent incidents left 18 people dead, many of them children, and stunned the nation. The opposition has called for the replacement of the Interior Minister and the Intelligence Chief following the shootings. Police in Australia say they're investigating after officers tasered a 95-year-old woman with a walker at a retirement home. Police say they were called to the care home in Cooma, around 300 kilometres southwest of Sydney, on Wednesday after staff found a resident outside her room holding a knife. 2 officers spoke with Miss Nolan for several minutes, but when she failed to drop the knife and approached them, one fired a taser, knocking her to the ground. The elderly woman is in a critical condition after the incident.
And I look forward to providing an update when I can. But in the meantime, we will do with the facts and not speculate. We need to ensure that the officers involved in this matter are afforded procedural fairness, and that anything that we say, we don't want to prejudice the investigation.
A wildfire fanned by strong winds has forced the evacuation of 700 people from villages in western Spain. It comes amid a prolonged drought in many parts of the country, with officials saying the blaze appears to have been started deliberately. Hundreds of firefighters have been drafted in to battle the blaze, backed up by 14 aircraft. Italian rescue crews continue to reach towns and villages that have been cut off following heavy rains and severe flooding. The number of dead from the flooding stands at 14, with some people still unaccounted for. It's estimated that the economic cost to the region in the north of the country will run into billions of euro.
All right, let's take a first look at your morning papers, starting with the Irish Times. They lead with state told to overhaul refugee housing. The paper reports that unpublished papers have recommended revisiting asylum seeker policies in light of the current housing crisis.
The Examiner leads with Garda Italians fight mafia-style gang. Garda have joined forces with Italy's anti-mafia investigation directorate to target top-level mafia-style drug and money laundering gangs operating across Europe, including Ireland.
Fear for safety of Garda after fatal chase of burglary gang. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Garda facing charges over a car pursuit in which a notorious gang of burglars died will get official advice on personal safety amid fears he will be targeted by the criminal's accomplices.
Moving on to the tabloids now, and the Herald leads with the same story. The headline there says, "Revenge for fears for death chase Garda."
And the Daily Mail leads with rent hike boost for landlords to stem the exodus. Landlords could be allowed to charge increased rents for new tenants in rent cap zones under controversial plans being considered by the government.
The Mirror goes with OAP beaten and dumped in a bin. A man was jailed yesterday after he threw an 86-year-old woman into a wheelie bin in a drink and drug-fuelled attack.
The Sun leads with Enders Cindy back from the dead. EastEnder Michelle Collins is returning as Cindy Beale 25 years after being killed off.
And finally, the Star goes with ring and country hometown hero Katie Taylor has warned her English opponent to expect boos for the British national anthem in tonight's massive fight in Dublin.
All right.
Now, a little later, we're talking to broadcaster Keith Walsh, who's hoping to become the latest Irish world champion, this time in the new sport of foot golf.
So this morning, we're asking you what your unusual hobbies are.
I mean...
Yeah, I have played foot golf.
Hang on a second.
Wait, so it is actually like a thing?
It's like football, but on a golf course where the holes are an awful lot bigger.
So the football's bigger, the hole's bigger, and... that's it.
Yeah, you're not kicking a golf ball.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so it's a regular football on it. Okay, interesting.
Well, I think the ball actually might be a smaller size.
Okay.
But so, like the course I went out to play on, there was one particular hole, and from the pin you can see the hole, and if you kick the ball straight, the ball will veer completely to the left. So it's like golf in that you need to look at what you're aiming for, but then you might have to go to the right. So
it's
as
like
I did in
you
this
get a bit of the grass and go like that.
Yeah.
Which way is the wind going?
And then I kicked the ball to the right because the couple of guys that went ahead of me completely pulled to the left. I kicked to the right and wound up on the green.
Well, if I kick straight, mine will go to the right or the left or over.
Same here. I mean, it's quite unusual. Like, speaking of unusual hobbies, you've got mermaid swimming. That is actually a thing. Oh. It's a combination of technical swimming skills, acrobatic figures, breath holding, artistry, and it's all in mermaid tail costumes.
I would love this.
I think it's pretty cool, you know. And there's actually a documentary coming out about them on Netflix called Mer People. So it premieres this week and it dives into the world of professional mermaiding. So some people might do it for fun, whereas some people actually make a living for it. There's a woman called Paige from Reading in the UK, and she basically owns a mermaid hire company where she has about 50 mermaids on her books, and they send them out to children's parties, and it's about £100 pop. I think that's so interesting.
Would she not just be lying on the grass gasping for air and kind of hopping like this?
That's the thing about mermaids is now the top half is human and the bottom half is only the fish.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe when she's in the fish tank, just below.
I'm not up to speed on me mermaids, sorry.
Well, mermaids, they're the one, like, magical creature that I actually believe in, because, like, there is something called mermaid talk, where on TikTok it's just all of these stories of people that have seen mermaids in their lives all around the Caribbean Sea, and I'm hooked. So this is very interesting.
Have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean?
I have.
Those mermaids are scary.
Mermaids are not that nice.
They're not nice. They're supposed to be really scary. Yeah. Well, I believe in them anyway.
Well,
We'd love to know if you've got any crazy hobbies or any kind of left-of-centre hobbies.
I'd love to know.
I've no hobbies at all.
No, do you not?
No.
You're just busy with life.
Yeah, just sitting down,
You're a
faffing around the
you
place.
love your sci-fi. That's a hobby.
Yeah, but I'm not. Well, actually, I don't dress up as, but maybe I should. Maybe I'll go mermaiding anyway.
It's not
Who knows?
unusual.
Who knows? Anyway, she's going to do it. She'll be wearing her mermaid costume on tomorrow's show. All right, stay with us. We have a ridiculous amount of great sport to talk through. It's not easy, but we'll do our best. We'll see you after the break. Let's welcome back Off the Balls. Anne-Marie Donnellan is here to talk through this morning's big sports stories, and we're not short of stuff to chat about, I can tell you. First, though, we'll take a look at the back pages. The Irish Daily Mirror goes with proud and ready. Katie Taylor says, "This is the biggest night of my boxing career, and I will do everything I can to win." The Irish Times proclaims Leinster can bury bitter memory. That's, of course, referring to the Champions Cup final with La Rochelle this afternoon, a replay of last year's final, which ended in heartbreak for Leinster. And staying with the rugby, the Irish Daily Mail goes with Rodgers' mission. The Rochelle boss has double drive to spoil the Leinster party. We'll talk about that in a sec. Morning to you, Anne-Marie.
Good morning. One of those weekends.
Yeah, it is a crazy weekend. We'll start with Katie Taylor because, you know, the World Championship boxing back in Ireland and playing to a full house tonight.
Yeah, and most people, especially before the Serrano fight, kind of became accustomed to Katie winning fights quite handily. And I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. It's going to be really interesting in terms of what she goes up against. Chantal Cameron is a massive opponent for her in terms of, first of all, age. Katie is 36, nearly 37. Cameron is just gone 32. So there's 5 years there almost in the difference between them. And Katie has been through a lot of wars. So it will be interesting to see in relation to that if Katie does suffer, particularly in those middle kind of rounds where we saw that Serrano kind of had the better of her in New York last year. Will she be able to dig deep and find a way out there? And also, this isn't Katie's usual weight division, so she's gone up a weight to Cameron's weight. But what that means, so they both weighed in at the same yesterday at the weigh-in, but Cameron, because she will now eat properly and rehydrate, she'll be about 5 pounds on her, so she'll have that bit more power on her. She's also about 3 inches taller than her, so that improves her reach against her. So all these logistics point towards a Cameron victory. But, as you say, it's Katie Taylor back in Dublin. It's her homecoming fight. I don't think she'll have fought in an atmosphere like this probably since London 2012, when she became an Olympic champion. So can you imagine the roar that's going to be in that cauldron every time that Katie lands a successful punch? And whether it's right or not, that may influence the judges, and that's how boxing goes. So it's probably going to be one of the toughest nights of her career. Will she have the heart to be able to dig deep and find a way? We'll see. But as you say, it should be really special.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. What bothers me a little bit is that they're already talking about a Serrano fight for Katie Taylor. You deal with the fight that's in front of you.
Yeah, and I don't think Katie has any problems in being able to zone herself in. We know what kind of character she is. She won't let anything that's clouded the week gone or the last few months, you know, in relation to the venue and the build-up and all that. Katie Taylor is an expert at being able to block things out. So I don't think that will bother her in any way. I think it's what comes up against her in the ring tonight is going to be what tells the story.
I've nothing but admiration for her, both as a person. She's a wonderful role model, great sports person.
I've said it so many times. She's probably Ireland's... You can't compare sports people in different sports because that's just silly. But she's probably Ireland's most important sports person in terms of those barriers she knocked down and in terms of what's going to come after her, and particularly from a female point of view as well, what she's done. I don't think we'll see the likes of it again. So I don't think tonight as well will define her career. There will always be a special place in pretty much every Irish person's heart for Katie Taylor. But hopefully tonight does go well.
Well, and we've got everything crossed that will be the case for Katie. And she doesn't take on easy fights. It's another very, very tough fight waiting on her. Tough afternoon as well, or tough evening ahead for Leinster.
The stress of this, can you feel it? Like,
could this be, could it be third time lucky? Because La Rochelle have, done the nasty on them.
Yeah, twice. It feels like it all comes down to this. The last few years, like Leinster haven't won the Champions Cup since 2018. They've probably had the best personnel in Europe since then, and they don't have that fifth star to show for it. So it does kind of feel like, especially I think, since last weekend, since they lost the URC to Munster of all people, that pressure is just boiling up and up and up, and it feels like at 5 o'clock this evening it could boil over. It's just, there is so much on the line for Leo Cullen, for Stuart Lancaster, for Johnny Sexton. Is Rog going to get one over on them again? It's just, there's so many subplots to it. It's fascinating. In terms of the game, Leinster didn't score a try in last year's final. They'll want to correct that straight away. They need to score early. They need to get that build up on the leaderboard, and they just need to play like we know that they can. They can't let things get in their head. Play slick and fast and play the game on their terms, but we know what's up against them, and the Rog effect, it can't be underplayed. It can't.
Oh no, Rog flying the flag for Munster, even though he is with La Rochelle.
He has the measure of them, and he said in the press this week, I know how to beat them. He's turned as well, he's so clever, he's turned the fact that this is a home Dublin final back onto them, saying that it's a homecoming for him. He's just, the manipulation effects are brilliant. So it does kind of feel like, not really now or never, because we know there is so much talent in that Leinster squad to come again. But it could be the end of an era, and as cliche and cringe as it is, this could define Johnny Sexton's Leinster career, even though he won't be on the pitch today. But if he doesn't come away with that second Heineken, or that next Heineken Champions Cup, it'd be an awful way for him to go. I don't think anyone, bar the Munster supporters and La Rochelle, would want to see it. Hopefully they can find a way, but it is going to be brilliant, and I can only imagine neutrals watching on as well. This is going to get so much attention in terms of the Southern Hemisphere watching on for the World Cup, the English game watching on in terms of how they can possibly come up against the French and Irish in the coming years. It's just going to be all quarters zoned in on it. It's going to be a fascinating 80 minutes. I can't wait.
Just remember, there's 14 Grand Slam winners in the Leinster team. So it's fascinating. Great day of sport. Before we even look towards the H-posts at the Aviva, we'll be looking at the H-posts in Kerry as... the All-Ireland series begins today. The jeopardy, I think, has been removed because, there's a playoff or a quarter-final place.
So
you can lose 2 games in this and still qualify.
This is the new system. It's the group system, and 3 of every group go through. But the top team in each group goes straight through to a quarter-final. I think particularly your provincial winners are going to target that, as in, like, back to old school, provincial winner goes straight through to the quarter-final. I do think that's going to be important. And also, provincial winners are going to want to keep that winning momentum going. But it's going to be really interesting to see from the teams that have had a massive break. So Kerry play Mayo today and Galway play Tyrone. And we haven't seen Mayo and Tyrone in around 6 weeks. So we don't know what the break will have done for them. Will it have been a hindrance or will it have been beneficial? In my opinion, I think you're better to just keep playing and keep winning. And there is no such... there's no... thing that can match championship minutes. I don't believe that you can replicate that in training, but we will see. It'll be interesting to see. Kerry and Mayo, this is a rivalry. As you say, there isn't great jeopardy on the line today because neither team kind of have to win. Mayo often play into that kind of franticness of a game when it has to be done, when it's knockout, when they have to win. So I can see Kerry just having too much for Mayo today. I think Galway and Tyrone will actually be probably a little bit more of an interesting game because they're probably a bit more well-matched for each other. Galway have looked really impressive in the league and the Connacht Championship. But Tyrone did look really impressive in that game against Monaghan, particularly in the first half. And perhaps they didn't totally 100% deserve to lose that. Monaghan fans won't like to hear that. But it'll be interesting to see what the break has done for them and how they can go up against Galway.
You see, this is the flaw that I think is in this system. Tyrone lost to Monaghan. They could lose to Galway, they could lose to Armagh and still win the All-Ireland. They could, it doesn't seem... It just seems a little bit flawed.
Essentially one game in your group. If you win one game, you'll go through, which, it is like...
It's going to be
That's
fascinating.
a conversation for a different day. We could spend the day talking.
Let's just enjoy the
about
games for now.
our fixtures here. But yeah, it is. It does kind of feel like the championship gets going at the quarter-final stage. But sure, we'll enjoy these games.
Just very quickly, it was a better day for the Irish at the PGA Championships
Yeah, the
yesterday.
PGA at Oak Hill, a relentless course, and conditions haven't made it any easier. I think the cut mark is 5 over, which kind of tells you everything. There's players there that didn't make the cut, 22 over, etc. Rory McIlroy, only 5 shots off the lead. I think he's level par.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's only 5 shots off the lead, and he hasn't kind of caught fire yet. If he was to catch fire today on moving day, you never know. He's, of course, a double PGA championship before. And don't write off Shane Lowry as well. 7
he had a really
birdies
good day
yesterday. Yeah, and we know he has a big weekend in him always.
OK, well, we keep our fingers crossed. No time to get to Premier League action because that could be done and dusted by the end of the weekend. We will have to wait and see. But for now, Anne-Marie,
Thank you.
enjoy Galway Tyrone.
Thanks, I will, yeah.
OK. Up next, we're going to be helping you bag a great value summer holiday. Don't go anywhere.
You're very welcome back to the show now. As the summer holidays draw nearer, it pays to plan ahead to make sure you're getting the best deal.
Well, we've asked you to send us in your holiday questions, and the novel traveller, Michelle Walsh-Jackson, joins us to answer them. And yeah, you've got your Aussie Outback hat on.
I've got my Outback hat, there's a hint, and I'm kind of a bit ABBA-esque, ready for another question later on.
All right, let's get cracking then. Because Liz and Offaly was in touch. She said, during COVID, when I was confined to the house, I decided to save and plan for my dream trip to Australia. I've wanted to go all my life and now finally have the finances. I'm going for a month. You need to go.
Yeah, you do. It's so far away.
And obviously we'll be visiting Melbourne and Sydney. I can't afford to visit everywhere in Australia, so where else would you recommend I go?
Well, I have the answer for Liz. First thing you do is when you're making an investment like this, you want everything to go really well. So go to a bespoke travel agent, someone who really will look after you and do up an itinerary especially for you. We all think we can do it now online. Lots of things can go wrong. Go to a travel agent. Someone like Platinum Travel in Clontarf is really good, and they'll team you up with companies like Intrepid Travel, who will do like little bespoke tours. So she wants to go to Melbourne first, which is, of course, fantastic. It's a great place. You've got Phillip Island with the penguins. You've got loads of parks to go and see. There's Ballarat, which is a mining town. There's so much to do there. Up in Sydney, it's just glorious. You've got the Opera House, which I was left awestruck when I saw.
Really?
But for Liz, I would suggest she pops up further up the coast to Queensland, because Cairns, the Daintree Forest, Cape Tribulation, that whole area is just stunning. And you can get like a little add-on package for 8 days with Intrepid Travel, 2,630. So to add on, that would be, she'd be looked after, she'd be with a group, but then she might want to be on her own, you see, doing her Sydney and Melbourne from the sounds of things.
That sounds like a great plan, actually, because if you go up the Gold Coast, it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see so many beautiful places.
Can I just ask, would you recommend that you just fly directly there, or would you recommend stopovers?
Definitely a stopover, because it breaks the journey and gets you used to the new time zone. So you've got Abu Dhabi, you've got Dubai, you've got lots of places you can stop off on the way, like Singapore. So I definitely would break it. And you see someone like Ciara in Platinum Travel, she'd be able to do it up for you and you know, suit your bespoke holiday.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime holiday. Do it right and make sure everything's fantastic.
Right.
Now, next up, Danny in Cork. After seeing Sweden winning the Eurovision again, I've decided that I'd like to visit, but I know nothing about it. Is it easy to get there, and is it really expensive once you do?
Well, it's expensive, but it's really easy to get there. Like, we've got daily flights.
One of the two.
We've got daily flights from SAS to Arlanda Airport in Stockholm, and you've got three weekly flights with Ryanair. You've got 4 weekly flights with Norwegian, loads of connections. And summertime's a great time to go because you've got the white nights. It's really bright until really late in the evening. And Djurgården is a spot that is, it's one of the main archipelago. There are 200 inhabited islands on the archipelago, about thousands of little islands. And this is where you've got all the action. You've got the Vasa Museum, you've got the ABBA Museum. And, you know, it's great. Hence the pink. Yeah. But it is such a great site to go and see when you go over there. And if he's a Eurovision fan, he's really going to love it. And I've got this incredible deal from Click and Go, which is cheap. It's $299, heading off on the 28th of July for 3 nights, and that's stayed in a 4-star hotel.
Is that the flights as well?
That's the flights.
That's very good.
Stopover. So,
that's really good. And to be honest, bearing in mind what you pay in a night out in some of the cities in Ireland, Sweden's not that expensive.
It's not as expensive as it used to be.
Yeah.
No, I've just got in my ear, there's over 200,000 islands in Sweden. So that's mad. My goodness gracious me. Now, Joseph in Longford Town, he wants to know some something, doesn't he?
Yeah, I want to bring my kids on a Eurocamp-style holiday, but the choices are bewildering.
Yeah, well,
Can you
now
help?
you've got to calm down a little bit with this. We've got great connections with by sea if you want to bring the car, with Stena Line and with Irish Ferries, go to Cherbourg. Or if you want to fly, there's flights now from all over the country to La Rochelle, Bordeaux. The West Coast is just beautiful. I'd go to a company like Siblu, that's Sea Blue, you say it, SIBLU, SIBLU.ie, and you'll get lots of great offers there, like €301 from the 24th of June for a week. That's staying in Les Charmantes, which is really popular with the Irish because you've got fantastic kids clubs, loads of activities. You've got your football at night. The kids do entertainment. This is perfect family holiday, and it's a holiday you'll kind of go back to again and again.
Yeah.
You know.
Ruth in Tella in Dublin. This is one that we're all interested in. I keep hearing that we can bring liquids as hand luggage. Then I hear we can't bring liquids as hand luggage. What is the truth? Have the liquid rules changed yet? Now, we've demonstrations here. So tell us what's the international rule now?
Dublin Airport is in transition, and we're getting these fabulous new C3 machines where you've got, and they're a little tip on the left-hand side in Terminal 1. If you head in there, that's where they are. However, bear in mind, only Shannon and Donegal are completely transferred over in Ireland. Cork is going to be a little bit while yet. It'll be next year. And bear in mind, when you go away and you bring your big bottles of shampoo, you mightn't be able to bring them back because you don't know if the European airport is going to have the same facilities.
Right.
But it's a fantastic thing.
But you can bring them
TAA
out
are
if you
doing.
need to.
You can bring them out if you get in the right lane, because Dublin Airport isn't completely changed over yet. Cork will be a little bit longer.
So we can bring our big bottles?
You can.
If you're in the right lane,
If you're
to
in
the right
lane,
machine.
keep to the left in Terminal 1.
Left, there we go. Perfect.
Are there any in Terminal 2?
They've started the transition, but they hope to be finished by Q1 next year.
Good.
Okay.
Now,
All right. Okay. Monica in Westmeath. I'm not particularly adventurous, but I've always wanted to visit Asia. But being in my 70s, I'm worried that I won't be able to handle the culture shock. Is there a country you'd recommend that I'd be able to visit with that eases me into Asian life?
This was so easy to answer.
So
wasn't it,
easy.
Elaine?
It's the best place in the world.
Our favourite country.
And in fairness, you travel the world, and I told you to go there, and now it's your favourite country in the world.
I have to say it. It's just for rest, relaxation, for culture,
Thailand.
for food. Thailand, it has to be. It's fantastic. And you're just back from there, I believe.
I'm just back from them all rested now, but look at the actual scenery is beautiful. The people there are so nice. It's so calm. It's so... And you know what, there's a lot of talk about Thailand, but I find it really, really safe as a solo traveller.
Yeah, absolutely. Safe, very cheap when you go to lovely restaurants. And the street food is really clean, and you won't get...
You can go on food tours, can't you?
Oh, you can go on fantastic... Oh, that's a great... Martin, Discover Travel down in Cork, actually, they are a bespoke agency and they specialise in trips away like that. And they will do them like around the theme of food for people who really love
There she is on our holidays.
She's on our holidays.
There I am.
Oh,
Wait till I show you next. I went to the temple. That was in Phuket as well. Absolutely gorgeous. But lads, I mentioned yesterday in the show, I cooked. Successfully, I cooked. I made that meal.
And nobody died?
Nobody died. Well, I was the only one eating it, so, like, I'm still here. But that's in Alinta in Phuket, where it's absolutely gorgeous. And they do courses during the week, and you can just do whatever you want. And they do, they taught me how to do a cookery class, and there's sound therapy. It's absolutely fabulous.
Oh, it's just gorgeous, Thailand, I think, for so many reasons. And do stop off in Bangkok and see the temples, like the King's Palace. It's great.
Do you have a deal for us?
Yeah.
A deal for us?
Oh, sorry. Oh, a deal. No, just go to Discover Travel because it's very bespoke. You can't really judge exactly how much it's going to be when you've got a small group of people going. I think is a great way to do that because she's in her 70s, so she's got that kind of support.
Sorry, very, very quickly. Sun holiday, 2 minutes for the Leaving Cert holiday.
Leaving Cert holiday. He'll be looking after it himself. A viewer wrote in and asked about planning a holiday
she's worried
for
about her son going on Leaving Cert holiday.
Go to a travel agency. You want to have that backup if something goes wrong. They've got to have their insurance and they've got to have their EIHC health card.
You won't sleep for the week.
Yeah.
But
the 2 weeks.
It's
2 weeks.
Well, it'll be 2 weeks, but at least you'll know they've got insurance and they're well taken care of.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, Michelle. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much,
For more
Michelle.
of Michelle's travel ideas, head on over to thenoveltraveller.com.
I want to go on holidays again now, but after the break, oh Lord, move over. Katie Taylor, myself and Katia are coming for your crown. No, we're not. And it's the belt. Anyway, we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ireland AM and the contest for the Virgin Media Television Women's title. In the red corner, hailing from the rebel county of Cork, it's Elaine, the Crusher Crowley. In the blue corner, from the fighting city of Dublin, she's the pride of Blanche. It's Katya Killer Mia!
We're ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh,
Thanks, Martin. Yes.
you're probably like, boxing is not like that.
No, you look like natural.
That was good.
Pretending that we know what we're doing. Anyway, Katie Taylor, she's back in town tonight. And she has, of course, inspired thousands of women and girls all over the country and millions all over the world to take up the sport, and in particular, boxing.
So Paddy and Sean Heaton from Heaton Boxing Academy are here to talk about the explosion in popularity in the sport for women, and of course show myself and Elaine a couple of moves. How are you, lads?
Yeah,
No
we're
good
great.
will come of this, I'm going to tell you that now.
So Sean, I guess we'll start with you. We've learned the difference, by the way, because you are identical twins,
Yeah.
but I'm like, white shoes, grey shoes. Okay.
you go.
Yeah.
So with boxing, like, you started this 5 years ago. Let's talk about the popularity of this sport with women in your classes.
Yeah, so boxing's become so popular, and I think it's down to three main reasons. Firstly, it's just such a good workout, as you girls will see shortly. Secondly, I'm a little biased with this, but I think for your mental health, it's the best workout you can do. Really good for stress relief and anxiety. And secondly, it's down to Katie Taylor herself. She's just inspired so many people to take up boxing, even from a fitness point of view.
Yeah, but when you say it's a full body workout, it really, really is, because, I mean, you think that you're just using your hands here, but not, it's your back, it's
Exactly.
your knees, you're kind of squatting all the time.
Yeah.
And the cardio you do as well is amazing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When boxing's taught correctly, you're moving your whole body, you're engaging your core, it's getting the heart rate high. It's a full body workout.
And something we like, which we see in our gyms, our members, they gain a lot of confidence and it's empowering. Learning self-defense, it's a great add-on to doing a boxing workout also.
And as well, the stress relief. If there's someone who just annoying, you can imagine that it's in your
Everyone-
face and whack.
It's like you can't punch your boss at work, but when you come to Heaton Boxing Academy, you can
There you
imagine
go.
your boss's face on that bag.
You can visualize it. We can do that today when we're on pads. But our slogan is punch it out. So our members punch out a bad day, punch out their stress.
Yeah.
It's a great outlet.
Like, what percentage of your members are men and women? Because predominantly it has been a men's sport up to now, but you find more women are coming into
Yeah,
the field.
it's really interesting. So around 80% of our clientele are all female.
Yeah.
And I think it's Katie Taylor's got a big reason for that as well. She's made it more mainstream. And like Sean said, it's a super full body workout. So our members love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many gyms do you have, or how many?
So we have 5 gyms now. We opened
Yeah.
up our 5th gym 2 weeks ago in Churchtown, and we've got over 1,000 members. So,
Over 1,000?
Yeah, so it's really, really popular at
I
the
mean,
moment.
in over 5 years, that's incredible.
Working hard.
Yeah.
Trying our best.
And what's next in the pipeline for you guys?
Yeah, so next it's nationwide expansion. We want to hit the major cities. We want to hit Galway, we want to hit Cork, and we want to go to London soon. But that's all coming
Baby
soon.
steps.
Baby
Baby
steps,
steps.
exactly.
Big
And
steps.
is it purely fitness you do? I mean, have you competed yourselves over the years? Obviously, you must have.
Yeah, so we would have competed for a number of years at a high level. But then what we saw was there's a gap in the market for people that want to get the fitness benefits of boxing, the mental benefits, without stepping in the ring, without taking a punch. So that's why we set up the Heaton Boxing Academy.
So we have to ask you about tonight. Will Katie do it? I mean, it's all the eyes of the world are on her.
Yeah, so there's no two ways about it. It's a tough fight. Chantal Cameron, who she's fighting, is very accomplished. But we're talking about Katie Taylor here. She rises to the challenge. So we definitely think Katie Taylor's going to win tonight.
Excellent. Who actually, have you boxed each other?
I don't want to talk about that, okay?
Okay, I wonder who won that, Paddy. I'll say nothing about that.
Look it up on YouTube. You'll see it.
Right, so we'll get our Katie Taylor on, I suppose. You're
I'm
gonna
taking off my shoes.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm taking off my shoes.
recommend maybe
'cause
taking them off.
I will wait till you see what height I am. Really look the difference. Woohoo!
Yeah,
See
so-
now, that's better. Isn't it?
Okay, where should we start?
We're going to give you a little bit of a crash course, okay? So are we both left or right-handed?
Right.
Right-handed, okay. So you're both orthodox fighters, okay?
Orthodox.
Same as Katie Taylor.
Same as Katie
Yeah.
Taylor.
That's one thing
okay?
you have in
No
common.
southpaws.
No southpaws
southpaw.
here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our left foot forward, okay, and our right foot back. We want a small bend in our knees.
Yeah.
We're going to put our hands up at our chin. Okay, this is our boxing stance,
Yeah.
all right?
Okay.
The first 2 punctures we're going to learn today are going to be our left, right.
I have short arms. I'm
Don't worry,
We'll
don't
start
worry.
over in
We can
punching the
adapt to
air.
it, okay?
Yeah,
so
sure.
if you can see from practice, punch in the air, left, right. There you go,
Yeah.
okay? We're going to do it on the pads now,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
So left, right. There you go. Turn those
Ready?
knuckles.
Yeah. Okay.
One,
We'll do it in line. Ready? So, ready, left.
boom.
Excellent. Right. Boom.
There
And
you
again,
go.
left.
Boom,
Right.
boom,
Very good. Left.
push,
Right.
boom.
One more time. Left. And right. Boom. Super, okay?
Right.
Feel the stress
Now
coming out
we're
already.
going to step it up slightly.
Whose face are you punching?
No
I'm
comment.
imagining a face right now, but I can't say. My boyfriend's face.
What we're going to do now, we've done our left and our right. We're going to put it together for our first combination of the day. It's
Okay.
our 1-2.
Okay.
So left and then big right hand after that.
Right hands are powerful.
Straight away, so 1, 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Ready, Elaine? Let's
So
Yeah.
go.
1, 2. There you go. And
again.
again. 1, 2. Excellent. Again.
again.
Push. One more time. Boom.
Two natural Sean we have.
Very good. Okay.
Good.
We're going to step it up one more time. Okay. So we're going to increase our volume. So the more punctures we can get you thrown, the harder it's going to be. So
Yeah.
this time it's going to be 10 straight punctures.
Oh.
I want you to imagine you're going for the knockout, like Katie might be later. Non-stop 10 punctures turning through.
Oh.
You ready?
okay.
I'm not very fit.
No, no, you have this. You have
Are
this.
you going to do the counting?
We'll
'Cause I
count
won't be able
for
to
you.
keep up.
We'll count for
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
1,
Go.
2,
1,
3,
2,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7, 8, 9, 10.
11. Bonus punch over here. And we're going to go.
Sorry. My necklace got a bit.
Right,
over the
one
place.
more burst than us, okay?
Okay,
10
okay.
punches again, okay? You ready?
Woo!
Go. 1,
go.
2,
1,
3,
2,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Excellent.
Very good.
Touch gloves after.
Yeah, well done.
Woo!
Excellent. How you feeling?
Look at us. I feel great.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Right, what next?
See, what's good about boxing is because you're focusing on the technique so much, you kind of forget you're working out.
Yeah,
You get me? You're
exactly.
focusing
Yeah.
on doing everything right. We're going to bring a little bit of head movement in, so a little bit of defense.
Okay, we're nearly finished now. We've got
Okay,
literally
so
30
Go
This
seconds.
quickly,
is the
okay?
last
So
one.
hands up.
Okay,
So
yeah.
to miss a straight punch, we just turn our shoulder away. So if I
Okay.
throw a jab at you, no, you're going to turn
slip.
away. No, no, no.
Oh, you're throwing
I
one at
turn
me.
at you. You turn away,
Yeah.
and you come back with a big right hand.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the combo to finish off the grand finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be 10 punches, slip, right hands.
Okay,
right, let's do it.
Okay,
Let's go.
Very quickly,
Go.
now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slip. Go. Punch, punch, punch.
Oh.
There we go. Well done, guys. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Don't make me hanging. Don't make me hanging.
Our pleasure. Well done.
Sorry. Thanks, everybody. That was
All right,
great.
For more information on how to get started in boxing for fitness, head on over to heathenboxing.ie and tell them we sent you.
Now, coming up, we'll be talking to the reunited band that once went toe-to-toe with the likes of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Alan Clark and the Hollies will be here.
All right, we'll check on your morning papers and we'll start with the Irish Times. They lead with state told to overhaul refugee housing. The paper reports that unpublished papers have recommended that revisiting asylum seeker policies in light of the current housing crisis.
The Examiner leads with Garda Italians fight mafia-style gang. Gardaí have joined forces with Italy's Anti-Mafia Investigation Directorate to target top-level mafia-style drug and money laundering gangs operating across Europe, including Ireland.
Fear for safety of Garda after fatal chase of burglary gang. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. A Garda facing charges over a car pursuit in which a notorious gang of burglars died will get official advice on personal safety amid fears he will be targeted by the criminal's accomplices.
Moving on to the tabloids now, the Herald leads with the same story. Its headline says, Revenge fears for a death chase Garda.
The Daily Mail leads with rent hike boost for landlords to stem the exodus. Landlords could be allowed to charge increased rents for new tenants in rent cap zones under controversial plans being considered by the government.
The Mirror goes with OAP beaten and dumped in a bin. A man was jailed yesterday after he threw an 86-year-old woman into a wheelie bin in a drink and drug-fuelled attack.
The Sun leads with Ender's Cindy back from the dead. EastEnder Michelle Collins is returning as Cindy Beale 25 years after being killed off.
And finally, the Star goes with Ring and Country. Hometown hero Katie Taylor has warned her English opponent to expect boos for the British national anthem in tonight's massive fight in Dublin.
OK.
Now, I've had a few texts flying in as well this morning. We're talking about unusual sports later on in the show. We will be talking about foot golf. Would you believe it? Foot golf. Anyway.
It's been around for a couple of years now.
Well, it's news to me anyway. My husband plays underwater hockey.
What?
There are 3 or 4 clubs around Ireland and are always looking for new members. They travel around Europe into competitions, etc.
How does that even work, though?
I have absolutely no underwater.
I've heard about water polo, but
Yeah.
underwater hockey.
Yeah. Claire from Donabate does professional hopscotch and it goes relays and battles. There you go. And Jane said she travelled to the US and saw ostrich racing. But a lot of people have very unusual hobbies. Well, you have a very unusual hobby yourself. I mean, your hobby has been stalking Beyonce for many years.
That's right. I mean, I was filling you in that we all have a group of us that met 10 years ago, queuing for Beyonce at the O2 Arena, and now we go to all her tours together because I can't find anyone else that is as obsessed with her as me. So we have a safe space now.
I don't think very many people in the world are as obsessed with Beyonce as you are, because our lovely Kat, it was her birthday during the week.
See?
And happy birthday to Kat, yeah. But a very special message was given to her on her birthday. We'll have a look at this now. She can explain herself afterwards. Happy birthday, Shawty!
I geek out every time I see that, guys. I had a massive sign saying, "It's my birthday. Thanks for throwing my B-Day party," because one of Beyonce's albums is called B-Day, so I had a bit of wordplay in there. And it got her attention. She saw that. And during her song Move, she said, "Happy birthday, Shawty." And that, you know what? I just died. I can't even recollect.
Look at your face.
I can't even recollect. I was lucky I had a friend next to me that was recording it, because I was shaking. But anyway, like...
So you were there with the sign?
I was there with the sign, and she was giving all the eye contact, she was singing, and then she ended with the "Happy birthday, Shawty." And I was like, "Do you know what, Beyonce, that is why I love you." And right now, I consider her as part of my family.
Yeah, but you were queuing up overnight, weren't you, as well, to see her? Even though you had the best tickets in the place.
She's exposing me, but this is how crazy I am. We slept outside the Principality Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when are you
You
going
were
to
that
again?
dedicated. And come here, was Beyonce asking for us?
She was asking for you.
Well, I knew that. Yeah.
She didn't, unfortunately, but she was asking about you.
Yeah, babe, you just got to let me go, okay?
Very interested about, you know, the rendezvous that occurred a few years back. And, you know,
Right.
I asked you about it, Martin, and you said you were over it.
I'm well over it. She just needs to back off now. I'm very much in love.
You got Beyonce for your birthday. He just wants Beyonce for his birthday, so that's all.
No, I don't. I just need her to back off.
Oh, my God, I love her.
We couldn't have a birthday celebration, of course, without something sweet and delicious, just like yourself. Guess who brought in the goods for you today?
Who?
Guess who it is?
It's Chrissy!
Happy birthday to you!
Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Katya! Happy birthday to you!
Oh, my God, this looks amazing!
Happy birthday, sweetness.
Oh, my God.
Did you make a wish?
I did.
I heard you like strawberries.
Happy birthday to you.
To meet Beyonce next time. Oh, my God, that's
So I'll leave that with
beautiful.
you.
Thank you
Great
so
cake,
much.
Chrissy. Thank you.
My favourite cake maker came.
Oh,
Have a great day. Oh, you're going to love
Shame
it.
to cut it, that
you
it's
so much.
beautiful.
I know, I don't even want to
but cut
touch
in.
it.
Yeah. What is it?
We're going to have to cut it. This is chocolate.
Oh.
Chocolate cake, strawberries.
Chocolate
We've got some
strawberries.
frosting.
No
And it
better
has-
combo.
And it has my name on it.
What more can you ask for?
Oh, thank you,
birthday.
guys.
Stevie Wonder sang happy birthday to you as well. So, you know, what a week.
Happy
week.
birthday, sweetheart.
Thank you. Mwah.
Good to see you.
You know,
Thank you.
it's a good thing Dara planned his birthday surprise a week before, because it'd be hard to top this week now. And this
Yeah,
is the cherry
Dara.
on top.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally, the strawberry on top. Thank you.
All right. Many happy returns. All right. After the break, Holly's frontman Alan Clark will be here with a tune to make us swoon. We'll see you in a few minutes.
You're very welcome to Ireland AM. It is Saturday, May 20th. We're here until noon, hopefully keeping that sunny feeling going.
We need it because there's no sun out there.
Yeah, well, we're sunny.
We're sunny.
Smiley and sunny
Our
and happy.
disposition will brighten your morning. Coming up, it promises to be a massive day of sport in Dublin. We've got two big events going on as we look forward to Katie Taylor's big hometown fight and Leinster's Heineken Cup final at Yadida.
Summer's almost upon us, but have you still no idea what to do for your holier as well? We'll be answering your queries a little later on, so send them in to us.
They smashed the charts back in the 60s and 70s with hits like The Air That I Breathe and Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Now, 60 years later, they're getting the band back together. We'll be talking to Alan Clark from the Hollies.
Broadcaster Keith Walsh is representing Ireland, wait for it, the Foot Golf World Cup. Yep, that's right. Foot golf. He'll tell us all about it after 11.
Do you need a caddy for that? Bearing in mind you just have 2 feet.
I have no idea. We'll find out later
We'll have
on.
to find out.
Birthday girl now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the birthday girl.
Birthday girl.
She's
Looking
on-
very mature and old, isn't she?
Very mature,
Yeah.
but she is eating Complan for her breakfast.
Yeah, of course. She has
Katya,
to.
what are you up to?
Well, good morning. We're all shouting on the Queen of Boxing, Katie, tonight at the 3 Arena, and she's inspired us to take up the gloves and you know, give it a lash. So we've got Paddy and Sean Heaton from Heaton Boxing, and they're going to teach us a bit of a crash course, guys. What are we learning today?
We have a fun workout plan today. We're going to learn our basic boxing stance, our basic punches, and it's something everyone at home can get involved in and try with us later on the
Do
show.
you reckon we'll be any good?
Yeah, I have high hopes.
Well, fingers crossed. Well, we look forward to that later.
Welcome back with hits like The Air That I Breathe and, of course, Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. The Hollies have a place in history as one of the iconic 60s UK bands.
This year, original Hollies Alan Clark and Graham Nash are set to reunite, so let's take a look at some of their work over the years.
I love Jennifer Eccles. I know that she loves me. I love Jennifer Eccles. I know that she loves me. Sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. All I need is the air that I breathe, yes, to love you.
Many more, Alan. But Alan Clark, great to have you on the show. It really is. We went through a few hairstyles there, Alan.
Just a bit, you know, you do when you're 81.
It really is. It's a joy to have you on the show, and a great joy to know that after all these years, yourself and Graham Nash are working together again. But you two literally go back 75 years.
Yeah, you're just about right. Yeah, I met him when I was 6 years old. I went to a new school, and the teacher in the class asked the pupils there, did they have a spare seat? And this hand went up, and I went and sat down, and it was Graham, and we've been friends ever since.
But the Hollies are one of the most iconic bands, I think, in British modern history. Tell us about how you formed in the first place. How did you all kind of come together and get the name even?
Oh, how long have you got?
We've about 8 minutes there, no pressure.
Well, let's start when I'm a 14-year-old then. I mean, it was Lonnie Donegan who came on the scene. Graham and I, Dad bought us a guitar each, and we started playing skiffle songs. And we got so well, my brother took us to a club one night, and we went on and we did our 3 songs. And I think we were about 14. And that was the first gig we ever did. The guy actually gave us 10 bob for doing it, which at that particular time in my life was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that shoved us along a little bit.
The name itself, we're told 2 stories, that it's to do with A Christmas Garland, and then we're also told by Graham Nash that it's to do with Buddy Holly. So, come on, Alan Clark, tell us the truth. Which is it?
Well, let's put it this way. We were at a club called the Oasis, which was in Manchester. We just formed a new lineup, and we were waiting to go on stage. The guy said, what should we call you? And I would like to say it was me. So that's one of the things that I have in contention with Graham. Because it was Christmas and because we love Buddy Holly so much, it came into my head that we should be called the Hollies. So that's what happened.
That's how that happened. In the clip we showed, we were listening to one of your great songs, Jennifer Eccles. Is that about your Jennifer, your wife?
Yes, it is. That came about having a failure with King Midas in Reverse, which was one of Graham's babies at that particular time. And he was very disappointed that it didn't go any higher in the charts. So one evening, we were all together, myself, Graham, my wife, Jenny, and his wife, Rose. And we were so despondent that we thought we'd write a silly song. And the 4 of us got together, and through the haze of a few drinks, and we came up with this silly song called Jennifer Eccles. And we took it into the studio to play to Ron Richards, our producer. And he said, oh, thank God for that. You're back where you belong. And it came into the charts at number 2. So, you can't really knock what the Hollies were. But Graham, I think he took that as an insult.
Okay.
But when you look at around that era, you've the Beatles, you've the Stones. It was like the dawn of a very new sound, particularly with guitar and vocals. But when it comes to your first big hit, what was the one song that actually you realised, God, we've made it here?
Well, when we did the audition for EMI at Abbey Road, it was then called EMI Studios. We actually played most of the songs that we did on stage, and one of those songs was an old Coaster song called "Ain't That Just Like Me," and they brought that out as the first single, and I think that was about 60 years. About 2 days ago, the 17th of May was our first single.
Wow.
So that was a really good thing to happen to us at that particular time, because if we hadn't made it, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here talking to you now. So, yeah.
I'm of a vintage where, I've got a collection of vinyl albums, and some of them are originals. And what I love about vinyl albums are the credit listings. And, then you look and you see some of the session musicians who have played. And you have had some very serious session musicians play. The likes of Jimmy Page,
Just
John Paul.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a piano player who went on to be a bit of a superstar as well.
Well, he was Little Rich. I mustn't call him by his real name. Elton was on piano and he ain't heavy, and I can't tell the bottom from the top. And he was just a session musician at that particular time. But Eric Clapton was on one of the gigs that we did with the Ellery Brothers. We wrote 8 songs for the Ellery Brothers, and we recorded the songs with them. And one of the moments was me standing in the vocal booth with Don. Wow. And he stopped the session and he turned to me and he said, "Helen, how do you sing that line?" And that was a happening in my life that I'll never, ever forget, when somebody stands in front of you who's your idol and always has been, and asks you how to sing a song. So, yeah.
That's special. That is very, very, very
special. Very special.
Okay. We lost Burt Bacharach earlier this year. And you got to work with him as well when you were doing a version of one of his songs.
Yeah, it was hard work. It really was hard work. He is a perfectionist. We did about 16 takes of a song called After the Fox, which was a film with Peter Sellers. And when we'd finished our little bit after 16 takes, and actually, I remember our record producer came down and said they had it in the third, so we're not going to do it anymore. And then the Sellers came in sliding down the big staircase, and he was just surreal. And he ran over to the piano and he did his famous karate thing that he did in all the, the Pink Panther. So all these things have come flooding back into my mind now as you're asking me these questions.
I think you need to write a book. A tell-all book, because this sounds fascinating. Peter Sellers sliding down a banister. That's something I didn't think I'd hear today.
Yeah.
Tell-all is not what I want to do. I'd love to tell anecdotes and things like that about the people that I've met in my lifetime. I mean, it's been actually incredible that, the last job that I had before turning professional was working in Manchester's mill, where I was a hard cutter and all sorts of things. But then when you're taken away from that, you start meeting all these wonderful people that have been in your life even before, before you became famous. It was just unrealistic to me to be stood on the same stage with Little Richard and Jimi Hendrix, who was playing guitar for him back in 1966. And, these things are still happening to me, and it's just ridiculous. It's fabulous. But one day I will write a book. It will not be I won't tell everything. Not that I've got anything to hide. It's just that I've got so many other nice stories about other people that it might be okay to bring that out sometime. I better get on with it, hadn't I?
But very briefly before we go, the new album, what can we expect? Because that's been long anticipated now.
Well, it's taken about 40 years of me and Graham saying, yes, we'll do it, no, we won't do it. But I finally got him down to, I sent him a song called I'll Never Forget, which is a song about me and Graham trying to make up should we do the album, shouldn't we do the album, and what would happen? Would it be a success or otherwise? And he liked that song, so he said, okay, we've got this, let's start it. So that was about 40 years before he actually said that.
Took us time.
And well, I wrote all the songs on it, apart from the one that Graham wrote, which was called Buddy's Back, which was like his interpretation, and also bowing down to Buddy Holly and all the songs that he wrote in a short time. and it's on the album as his writing, as he always does. He can always come up with a good song, very much like a pop song that we used to write in the '60s. But there you go. And well, we finished the album. We didn't meet each other at all in it. We all did it online, which is possible now with everything that you can do. It's brought me back to wanting to write songs and to perform them in a way that when you've been retired for 20 years and then all of a sudden you've got an album out and everybody likes it and everybody wants you to go on the road again. I don't think that's going to happen, but never say never.
Yeah, it's a youthful elixir, shall we say, and seems to be working.
Yeah.
Alan, it really is a joy to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Martin, Elaine, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for talking.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday with some great harmonies in that. Yeah.
Well, that's another with Beyonce now and yourself. What a birthday celebration she's having.
All right. After the break, we'll be headed off to the kitchen for a quiche.
But first, we have to take another look at Alan's latest single, Buddy's Back, available wherever you get your music from today.
And then we started a band just to have some fun. And we created a sound as we sang as one. Buddy Holly was who we loved, right from the heart. His music is still around, believe me, Buddy's back.
And you're very welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, you might have heard the news that today is International Quiche Day. It might be niche, but we do love a quiche.
Tommy Butler from Portmarnock Hotel joins us now with the quiche to our hearts. Ah, for God's sake.
Can you imagine that? Oh, come on. Good morning.
Quiche to our hearts.
Quiche to our hearts. How
There
are you
you
doing?
go.
National
So-
Quiche Day. Who knew?
Is it Quiche Lorraine Day or just
Quiche
Quiche
Lorraine
Day now?
Day. International Quiche Lorraine Day.
What's the
Yeah.
difference between quiche and quiche Lorraine?
So quiche is any baked custard, basically. So it's a savoury custard, as where you'd have a tart then, which would be more sweet. So it's it was originally kind of a Kuchen. It's a German thing called cake, quiche. So it's the same kind of family as any tart. So what it is the base is kind of lardons and cheese, ideally being Gruyere cheese, which is Swiss. So it seems French, but its origins are actually in Germany.
Oh.
Strange enough, from Lorraine is in Germany. So I think it was over during the German and French occupation. I'm not a historian, I'm a chef.
That's
something along those
cause
lines.
of the First World War.
Yeah, something along those lines. So again, anyway, it transpired. So of course the French adopted it, and here we are.
Lovely.
So very simple. So I guess the main work is in the pastry itself. So the pastry is about roughly 6 ounces of flour, plain flour, about 3 ounces of butter cubed cold. And then what you do is you basically mix that till it forms a crumble. Then you add a couple of drops of water to bring the dough together.
How important is it that it's cold butter?
Cold butter is important because if it's hot, then you just have this. Even in here, the temperature is quite warm in here
It's
now,
very
so you could
glutinous,
feel
isn't
it
it?
was quite difficult to
Yeah.
work with
Right.
even this morning.
Okay.
So the temperature is very important. So because as soon as you start to work that butter, you're drawing out all of the actual proteins in it and stretching it. So what you need to do is get it to nice chilled, add some water, chill it in the fridge. Like any pastry, it needs to be chilled so that it just has time to come together and meet and stretch.
Yeah. So then after it's chilled, you roll it out like
After
you've
you
done there.
basically roll it out with a little bit of flour. Again, if it's too dry, just add little drops of water and it comes back together. Then you get your actual pie dishes and you just put it over on top. So you have, right, that's roughly the measure of my pie here. So I just want to take this over, and then all you're going to do, you can roughly just take then your knife or whatever, and you just take a rough kind of shape.
It's like a couple of centimetres.
Around that, yeah.
Or inches
And
around.
then that can be used again. This pastry can be used again. It can be rolled
All
down
right.
and used
So
again.
just
if
so
needs
you're
be,
not
yeah.
working with too much.
Exactly, yeah. So if you don't
Okay.
need, again, if you were going to do a bigger one, you would do a bigger one. Touch of flour
Yeah.
onto your bench again. Oops. And you just spread it out, just like that.
Lovely.
And again, It's very fragile and it's very warm
It's really
in here.
fine, yeah.
What sort
So
of
it's
pastry
very
is
fine.
that?
This is actually short crust pastry, which is
yeah.
a very simple one. And again, if you were to add sugar to this, it would become sweet and things like that. So again, it's a very fine pastry, very easy to work with, but very brittle. As you can see, it's quite
goes crumbly.
crumbly. Again, the
And
temperature has a lot.
Can people buy that ready-made?
Absolutely, you can buy ready-made, which is just as easy.
Okay,
You know?
okay.
Absolutely.
Probably easier. Really.
Probably
Just
easier,
for
yeah. On
the
a Saturday morning, probably
alternative.
easier. So then to put it together, what you do is you actually just, you put your rolling pin over, you flour your rolling pin just to make sure it's,
Doesn't stick.
so it doesn't stick, so it's nice and ready. You just grab it gently and then just roll across like this. Then you put your pie here, your pie dish here, and you just pop it over, right? And then what you do is very gently, very delicate fingers, you just pop it in. Just nice and gently, yeah? And again, it is cracking a little bit, but I don't think you need to stress because we will tidy it up in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You can patch
I
it
think
up with
that's
the
the
excess
thing.
bits.
People tend to stress when it comes to pastry. What you do is you actually get some of the excess pastry, you just
Dab it in.
push it back together.
Okay.
Just push it in. There's no
And
need
that,
to...
that doesn't need any oil or butter just on the tray.
The tray is greased, yes, with oil and butter. Yes.
Oh, it's
so you
greased already.
just literally push it back in just like that, and it actually forms the shape of the actual shell itself. And then what you do is you just literally just
take off,
just
trim it
it
around
off,
there.
and then you can press it back in a bit more aggressively. Then.
You've been cooking the fillings all morning. Tell us, what have you put in there now?
I have, yes. So what I'm going to do is, for the actual fillings now, is just bacon. I have here some bacon and some shallots, just standard bacon lardons and some shallots. So I've sautéed the bacon, and then with the juice, I've added the shallots into that as well.
Yeah. Simple
So
as.
it's very simple. So when you've got your actual your quiche, when you've got your quiche done, what it comes out at is this. So about 10 minutes blind baking, you put a little bit of parchment paper into that with some cooking rice or baking beans.
Yeah.
About 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it comes out just, it's not cooked, it's just set. It's come together, and that's what you get. And then what you do then is you take some of your actual filling,
Okay.
which is here, and you just pop it in. Very simply. As much as you want. If you want a big, tall quiche, no problem. If you want a small quiche, it's up to yourself. Just pop it around like that. And again, of course, the Gruyere cheese. This is absolutely...
This is the important bit.
This is absolutely delicious. Really nice. So you just, again, as much or as little cheese as you want.
How are you going to fit the egg into
Popped
that
into
now?
it. Oh, there's always a way.
You're fitting egg into it.
Egg
Yes, the custard.
and cream.
Oh, wow.
Okay. A little bit of
Salt and
pepper. Touch of salt. Not too much salt because you've got a lot of salt in the bacon. A little bit of cayenne pepper, which is unique to...
That's controversial.
Yeah, and you just give that a wee mix.
Yeah.
Right? A little bit of rush. And then just gently,
So it just sort of fills in the gaps.
it fills in the gaps, and don't stress if it overpeels because you want to change it into another tray. So you just take your time. Turn it
That's
over.
so interesting to
And
see
it
how
finds
it's made.
it finds its own way around. And
Yeah.
then you put that into the oven for about 10 minutes, and then that bakes nice and...
So the bottom of it is already cooked,
The
but
bottom
you're
thing,
almost just setting
you're
everything
just
at
kind
the
of
top.
finishing it, basically.
Right, okay.
So, obviously,
One you made earlier?
one I made earlier for everybody in the audience, as they say. So we have this
Slightly
guy.
bigger now.
Just a touch bigger with this one.
It gets bigger in the
I was
oven.
looking at the
Gets bigger
small
as you
one. I
go.
was saying, what in the
So
name
yeah,
of
so
God
what
does
I'm
he
going
expect us
to
all
do
share
with
that?
this, so I'm going to serve a little bit of salad with this as well. So I just have some mixed leaves here, okay? I have a nice mix of just kind of summer vegetables. I have some radish, some red onion.
Oh, yum.
Just put these on top here. I have a little bit of pickled beetroot here. I have some baby heirloom tomatoes.
It's nice,
Pop
fresh.
them on, nice and
contrast.
fresh, just because it's quite a heavy dish. So you
Yeah,
want something
yeah.
to kind of balance it and to kind of counteract it. Again, dressings for this, it's entirely up to you.
Okay.
And now, the moment of truth.
We're plating up and
Cut the
tasting.
quiche. Cut the
Dun,
quiche,
dun,
cut the
dun,
quiche.
dun.
So again, it's very fragile. So again, just take your time. Pop it in like that, and then just a nice piece here. And then we've got a nice portion now. And you can see how crumbly that pastry is. It's just set, which is lovely. It's exactly what you want. And again, when it comes out of the oven, you don't want to rush it. And
You do need to leave it set for a bit.
do
or else
need
it'll
to take
spill
a
all over
time
the
really
place.
set for a couple of minutes, yeah, because it is quite, and then that's what you get. You have this
Oh, you can see-
lovely creamy. So you don't take it out too early because obviously then you'll have a case of scrambled egg, which we don't want.
So
we'll
And
do
then
a
you have
quick-
this
You claim the honours
lovely
there, Kat.
kind of creamy texture.
You
It's
have a
just
fork.
set.
We'll do
Of
a
course I
nice
do.
little taste test before we
Spoon there
run.
now. I have a nice
Here, you can do
now.
that.
No.
Right. Verdict, right.
Before your birthday cake.
Oh, yeah, it's a savoury
Full
one.
recipe
Yes,
details are
yes.
up on our website, or of course you can taste Tommy's wares for yourself if you call into the Portmarnock Hotel. But up next, I may as well continue because he's tasting away there. He started his own podcast at the age of 8 and now he's interviewing top talent around the music industry. Junior podcaster Logan Kelly will be with us in just a few minutes. You're very welcome back. In lockdown, it seemed like everyone and their mother wanted to start a podcast, but few were as young as our next guest.
Yes, Logan Kelly has been podcasting since the age of 8, and 3 years later he joins us to chat about his hit podcast, Logan Sounds Off. How are you, Logan? Good to see you, sir.
I'm really, really good. Thank you. How about you guys?
Very well, thank you. See, he's starting already. You can see you've got the professional patter down. Come here. Why did you decide to make your own podcast?
Well, it already started when I got into the radio. I was looking at my parents going, I love music, but I want to be listening to something more interactive before I go to bed. So I got into radio. And then after that, I decided, I'd love to do something like this. So I got a mic for Christmas, bigger than I thought, and a little tape recorder from an uncle. And I started off doing little tapes. And then I asked, can I do a YouTube channel? And then I started a YouTube channel and I interviewed Keith Walsh and that kicked off everything.
Keith was on here later on today,
yes, yeah. And I thought it's amazing. And then about a year earlier, I started my podcast, Logan Sounds Off. And that's really where it all started.
Okay. Have you had a favourite interview so far?
No.
No?
Everybody...
Very good answer.
Everybody brings so much to the podcast. Everybody brings these different aspects to music. I learn loads of different small, tiny little things in every single interview. And that's why I love doing the interviews, because not only do I have fun doing it, it's like edutainment.
Right.
Oh, I like that. I haven't heard that phrase for edutainment. But it's basically about music, though. That's your passion. That's what you ask your guests about.
Yeah, music I've been listening to music since I was 4. All from heavy rock to classical music. I'm into it all.
Eclectic
really
tastes.
Like yeah.
Okay. So how much of an influence have your parents been on that musical taste?
Well, my dad, he gave me about 200, maybe 300 CDs when I was like 5 or 6, senior infants, first class. And I would root through this box of CDs after school and I would flick through them and I'd look at different CDs and I'd put them on and I'd listen to them. And when I got my first stereo, the first thing that I wanted to put on was Queens of Stone Age. And then my mum influenced completely different stuff, like 80s music. Whenever she'd be working out in the garden, the playlist 80s hits would be on. And I'd be listening to that. And that's how I kind of explored the different genres of music through these different things.
Okay.
Do you have a favourite band?
Oh, that's the impossible question.
It's possible. We all do.
No,
we all have one favourite song or band. We do.
No, there is. I do not. I kind of go through phases with bands that I would...
What phase are you in now, so?
The Pink Floyd / David Bowie phase.
Oh, that's
right.
Yes.
Okay, and have you reviewed any David Bowie songs of late?
Changes
song.
now.
Yeah.
The Changes Now Bowie album.
Yeah.
I bought that. That was, I think, my 3rd or 4th album that I bought on vinyl. And I did an album review on that. And then Pink Floyd I've done 2 album reviews on, and I wrote an album review for The Wall.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So was it another brick in the wall that brought you into Pink Floyd?
Yes, the song Another Brick in the Wall. I was on a drive home with my dad, and I was listening to the radio, and Another Brick in the Wall started playing, and I went, who is this band? And I was so intrigued. So for about 2 years, I didn't think much of them. I only knew The Wall. And then I started listening to the actual album, The Wall, and then Dark Side of the Moon, and then Animals, and all these different albums by them.
Okay.
And now it is time for Logan to become poacher turned gamekeeper. He's giving us a grilling.
Okay.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. My name is Logan Kelly, and today I'll be interviewing the lovely Martin King and Elaine Crowley. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you. How
Logan.
are you today?
Thanks for having us on your show.
I'm very, very well, thank you. So, Elaine, I understand you studied in DIT. How did you find moving from Cork to Dublin to study?
Interesting question, actually, because I found it quite difficult because I'd done my leaving at 16. I was just 17. It was my first time away from home, and I think I was a little bit too young. So I did find it quite hard. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Martin, like myself, your career began in radio. Was this something you always wanted to do?
Television was something that I always had a plan for. I love radio. Radio, it's kind of that lovely theatre of the mind where you've got to paint pictures with words, which you do so well, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, saying to you. So, radio was, it's kind of like the first love, but television is my best love.
It just shows the passion there. So, Elaine, was television something that you always wanted to do?
No, I started in radio too, actually. I started off kind of making ads and promos, and I fell into it. Originally, I wanted to be an actor, and my dad said, I'm not paying for you to go to acting school. I'll pay for you to go make films if you want to. So I did film and broadcasting, and then the plan was to make films, then put myself in them. But then I started a part-time job in radio, and I was bitten by the radio bug, and from then it was broadcasting all the way. Not necessarily television, unlike Martin. I kind of prefer radio, but yeah, it just kind of fell into it by accident.
Brilliant. And then, Martin, when you began then in TV, how did you find it compared to radio? Because there are some differences.
Oh, massive differences. And the lovely thing about television is that it's visual. So there's kind of less need for you to paint a picture for somebody because they can see it for themselves. But it's sometimes you just let the picture tell the story and you can just add to it. So yeah, I've always enjoyed television, and I love that lovely transition from one to the other.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I myself, when I'm watching television, I love the amount of television programmes that can play in one clump, even though they might be all different. So then, Elaine, what do you enjoy about working in TV? Do you have a favourite aspect of it? Or do you just like TV in general?
I like meeting people like you, young man, because you are the future, I have to say. So thank you so much for doing this with us today. It's absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
I've really enjoyed it.
We've enjoyed you interviewing us as well. So thanks for that, Logan. I think you need to do a read to the break, though.
You can now hear more from my podcast, Logan Sounds Off, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, back to you guys.
I'm going home.
Yeah,
I'm going home.
up.
I don't need to be here at all today. Would you mind doing the rest of the shift for me?
No. Rugby's on
busy.
today.
He's got the rugby going on.
Today.
Well, we can't afford him.
We actually can't afford you, it's grand. We just get Keith Walsh to help us out. Now, still to come, could broadcaster Keith Walsh, your buddy, turn out to be Ireland's next world sports champion? See you for that in 3.
Take a final check in your morning papers, starting with the Irish Times. It leads with state told to overhaul refugee housing. The paper reports that unpublished papers have recommended revisiting asylum seeker policies in light of the current housing crisis.
The Examiner leads with Garda Italians fight mafia-style gang. Gardaí have joined forces with Italy's Anti-Mafia Investigation Directorate to target top-level mafia-style drug and money laundering gangs operating across Europe, including in Ireland.
Fear for safety of Garda after fatal chase of burglary gang. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. A Garda facing charges over a car pursuit in which a notorious gang of burglars died will get official advice on personal safety amid fears he will be targeted by the criminal's accomplices.
Moving on to the tabloids now, the Herald leads with the same story. Its headline says, Revenge fears for death chase Garda.
The Daily Mail leads with rent hike boost for landlords to stem the exodus. Landlords could be allowed to charge increased rents for new tenants in rent cap zones under controversial plans being considered by the government.
The Mirror goes with OAP beaten and dumped in a bin. A man was jailed yesterday after he threw an 86-year-old woman into a wheelie bin in a drink and drug-fuelled attack.
And the Sun leads with Enders Cindy back from the dead. EastEnder Michelle Collins is returning as Cindy Beale 25 years after being killed off. And finally, the Star goes with Ring and Country. Hometown hero Katie Taylor has warned her English opponent to expect boos for the British national anthem in tonight's massive fight in Dublin.
Now, earlier on, we were asking you about unusual sports because we have a very unusual sport coming up later on with Keith Walsh. DJ and podcaster. What is it? Golf?
Foot golf.
Foot golf.
Foot golf.
Foot golf. If you've ever heard of it. But Jim,
Very careful how you say those two words.
You don't want to say it. You don't want to say it quick.
after yesterday,
What did he say?
I don't.
Foot golf.
I don't
golf.
need another. Oh God, you did it as.
I said foot golf.
Yeah. Anyway, say no more. Jim used to live in Alaska. We don't need to be in any more trouble this weekend, Martin King.
Sorry.
He used to do shovel racing. It was in the first Winter X Games in 1997,
That's really
and the
cool.
sport involved sitting on a shovel and racing down an icy hill. We used to sit in fertilizer
just
bags
sliding.
and race down a sliding
That's
hill.
just sliding.
Or a tray down the stairs.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bit of crack, though.
That's pretty cool. Helen says her husband does motorball. It's like football on motorbikes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And he plays at motorbike festivals. That's
I wouldn't say there's any diving headers. No.
No, I
You're not
don't.
going up for a corner, no. Anyway, I know you're celebrating your birthday this week, and what a birthday.
Yes.
With your new best friend,
Yeah.
Beyonce.
in my head.
But something else to celebrate your birthday.
Who?
Levi's.
Like
Are-
the jeans.
The
Levi's,
jeans
Strauss.
are 150 years old.
Oh my
Wow.
Isn't it?
But
Like
still as popular as ever.
massively popular. And you know how it got the name denim?
No.
It was manufactured in the French city of Nimes and was called Serge de Nimes, but got shortened to denim over time.
Really? But I thought they were made popular in the West, the Wild West in America.
It was.
So wait, so denim came from Levi too? Like that word was coined because of where it was manufactured?
No, Levi Strauss is the name of your man.
Serge
yes.
de Nimes, and it was shortened to denim.
Wow.
But it was Levi Strauss, who was just a trader, small-time trader
Yeah.
in San Francisco, who developed the fabric.
Yeah.
And then another guy took it on called Jacob Davis, who used to buy loads of denim from Strauss's warehouse. And what he started to do was put copper rivets into the different pressure points because it was work clothing. Yeah, workwear for miners and people
And you
like
shouldn't
that.
ever have washed your denim, apparently. Like, you weren't supposed to really wash them. They were supposed to stay hardy and tough.
But when it came to the manufacture of it, Jacob said, listen, I might need a little bit of help. So Levi said, right, let's get together and let's start manufacturing these things. And off it went. And, 150 years later, we're still celebrating it. And the way it took off in the fashion stakes was the GIs during a time when commodities and fabric and clothing was at a limit.
Yeah.
GIs start wearing it when they were on leave. They brought it over to Europe from
And the rest
America.
is history.
And off it went.
Did you
James
have a pair
Dean.
of 501s?
Yes, of course I did. I thought it was going to be like Nick Cayman when I put my jeans on.
No,
Never happened.
I couldn't get into the 501s myself, but
Same,
chunky.
same.
So I had the 468s, though. They were a bit more generous.
Okay, I need to try that.
You know what?
I the first time I ever tried Levi's didn't fit, so I was like, okay, you know what? Well,
Do you
my
know when
mum had a pair and they lasted her about 20 years.
When you're hopping up and down on the bed, trying to go like that, but it just doesn't
It's
happen.
like what Beyonce says, if you don't jump to put jeans on, then you don't feel my pain.
Thank you.
Right.
Five.
You say, like I said, they're best mates now.
Now.
All right. Anyway, how are you and your 501s today? Do you still have a pair? I have a pair in my wardrobe.
Oh, stop boasting
but
that
I
you can
do.
say. You probably can still fit into them.
Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a bit of a struggle. But still there.
You lie like a cheap rug.
Up next, podcaster and potential world champion Keith Walsh is joining us. We'll see you for that in a few minutes.
As I look out at this wonderful family, I am filled with so much pride.
The great Dom Toretto. If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today. And now, I am the man who's going to break your family. Piece by piece. What's up?
Uncle Jacob?
Your dad sent me.
Can't wait to see you get out of this one.
Boom. I'm Dante. Enchante. Time to end this.
Let's dig some graves.
Welcome back. If you like football and you like golf, then you'll love foot golf.
The apparently multi-talented broadcaster Keith Walsh is with us to explain just what the hell it is. We've been talking about this for most of the morning.
Pray tell.
I have actually played the game. Yeah. So I know that this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And
Are you available next week to go to Orlando to the World Cup?
Did you say Orlando?
Yeah.
You had him at Orlando.
Is this why you're going? Is this why you play the game? You want to go to Orlando?
Well, I mean, it's obviously it's got its attractions. Let's just say that. But I didn't know where it was on when it was offered. So I want to play for Ireland. I want to pull on the Irish jersey.
Yeah.
And you're getting to do that.
I'm getting to do that. That's the most
How did you
important
get
thing.
into it?
So a friend of mine, Damien, who is I think he's the co-president of Foot Golf Ireland, took me out and we played, and I played a few times, and I didn't do too badly, so kind of kept playing, enjoyed it, and then at some point Damien said, "Look, we're trying to put a senior team together because I'm an old man, and we're hoping
The 08Bs of Foot Golf.
put a senior team together to go to the World Cup. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Okay, cool." That sort of was a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and I was like, "Okay, let me see." And I said, "Yeah." Look, I the type of person I am, I would just say yes to things just for the experience,
Yeah.
So I think Damien thought I could do a job, so he put me in the team. Do you know what I mean? Like a Jack Charlton.
So, do you play on your own against somebody, or are you involved? Like, is there do you have a four ball? Is it a foursome? What way is it like regular golf?
Yeah, so it's like golf, but there's also a Ryder Cup element to it. Do you know what I mean? So there's the Irish team, but there's also you're playing individual game as well. So the first week is your individual games, and that's golf. So that's basically getting the ball in the hole in the least amount of kicks as possible.
Okay.
And then going around and trying to get, under par, maybe 5 or 10 or whatever under par, to win. And then you have your match play. So you both start with a ball, you tee off, and then you pick the best ball to play, and you're playing as a twosome on the team. And then, points are added up, and a team will win. So Ireland could win that.
So you're pretty much using the football, but most of the elements of it are golf.
It is golf. It kind of started out as a fun game. It was two Dutch guys, so you can imagine what they were thinking, or what was going on in their heads when they decided to play.
What was in that muffin before they went out that day?
And so they kind of invented it, and it was like, oh, golf, but with a football, because I think it started off as just a bit of a joke, because. In a way, like the uniform you wear is very much like a golf uniform. There's socks up to your knees, there's +4s, there's the golf T-shirts, all that kind of stuff.
Number is there as well. And it's not really a low standard game. I mean, you've got players like former Leeds player Alan Smith.
Yeah,
he's going to be competing.
And Man United.
And Man United, he's going to be competing.
For England, yeah. The thing, I'll start at the start, right? So if anybody wants to do something that gets them out of the house with a friend or a bunch of friends, have a chat, you're out in the fields, you're kicking a ball, there's a slight bit of competition to it, it's interesting. You're not interested in golf or you can't afford golf. This is, like, mental health-wise, this is the game. There's so many lads who played football five-a-side, the knee's gone, the hip is gone, whatever, and they love just kicking a ball. I was one of those lads, I'm lucky enough to still play five-a-side or seven-a-side, but to be able to go back out, kick a ball, with a bit of competition to it, but it's not like, the green fees and the membership of the golf club and all that kind of stuff. And, I go out with friends now, and I've made friends through it, and it's just great. Like, mental health-wise, it cannot be underestimated. Like, there's lots of lads who loved sport and just gave it up because they couldn't run around. There's not really any run on this.
It's just one way to better your life, I suppose. And, speaking of bettering your life, you do have your podcast, I'll Start Monday. Series 3 is coming out, and it's centred around, fulfilling your life and making it better. Talk to us a little bit about Series 3 and what we can expect.
Yeah, so 1, 2 and 3, they're all kind of around the same thing. It's like, what can I do on Monday that can improve my life in a certain area?
Yeah.
So we talk to anybody, from therapists to people who specialise in careers, career advisors. We talk to brain specialists, and we talk about how things work. And then if you want, so fitness. What can I start Monday? Just a small thing. I remember talking to a guy who had represented Ireland in the Olympics as a marathon runner, and he was talking about training, and he was going to take the Christmas off, and then he'd get back training after Christmas. He was looking forward to Christmas because he wasn't going to do much. And I said, well, what do you do your first day back? Training. And he said, well, I might run a mile, a kilometre, or 2 kilometres. So everybody thinks that we all think we have to go to the gym and do a session every day. You just start small. So I'll Start Mondays about what you can do to form a habit or change a habit with just a little change.
Okay, it's fascinating, and I love listening to people who have made the massive changes to their lives. But sometimes I think, is the problem that you're putting off starting it on Monday? Should you not just start it there and then?
You should, yeah. But people, it's a mindset thing. People don't, because they see the weekend coming and it's like, oh, like I want to drink less or I want to look for that job, but it's Friday and I've got Saturday and Sunday, I'll start Monday. You know, it is a mindset thing and it just works with people because that's when they start. But the problem is they think on Monday they're going to give up the drink, they're going to stop smoking, they're going to go to the gym, they're going to do all those
They
things.
cut a cold turkey.
Yeah, not going to eat any sugar, and I'm going to do all that starting Monday. By Tuesday, they've crashed and they've given up.
It's like New Year's Eve. I'm giving up the smoking and the drinking.
Yeah,
I know.
By the 2nd of January, you're back in the pub. You know, so be realistic, and that's what it's about. And we talk to these experts and people who have overcome things and, you know, and learned new things, changed bad habits for good habits. A guy called Brian Penny, fascinating interview. He was a heroin addict for 15 years. And now he's a PhD from Trinity. He's a brain specialist, you know. So he's able to talk about what was happening to him when he was addicted and how he changed that. He's a fascinating guy, you know.
I mean, all it takes, like, 'cause so many people go through.
Hang on. Just keep talking. It's okay.
I was just saying, a lot of people go through things in their life, and just to hear a story like that you just said about Brian, I mean, that will definitely inspire them to just kickstart and do something to make their life a little better. Oh, he's going commando.
Oh, he's going. That's it.
He's going
okay.
commando.
Now this is proof that the man is training to play foot golf.
Okay.
And
this is what foot golf is about.
Will I go the whole hog? I will. Hang on. Let me see what underpants I want.
Oh!
He's just double checking. He's just double checking.
It's okay.
That's it. He's all right.
It's okay, everybody. Don't worry about it.
I'm telling you, the
Well, tell
ratings
you what,
are going to be flying.
We were talking
after
about
this.
Levi's about 10 minutes ago. I thought we were having a Nick Cayman moment, and he was going to strip down to his Dudleys.
I didn't know what you were going to do.
Thanks very much to Connemara Coastal Cottages.
Who are sponsors.
And everybody for getting involved, and ole, ole, ole.
You've got your flag.
I've got everything. I'm ready to go.
For a moment. No, hang on. It's Ivory Coast at the moment, so you need...
Yeah, you need to do a switcheroo. Quick. There
No.
we go. There we go. But where can we actually watch this?
Yeah, there's an app. You can just look for the Foot Golf app, Foot Golf World Cup app, download it and watch it on the app. And we have serious contenders. Yeah, we have a guy called Jimmy, a guy called Chris, and we think that some of those guys could win it outright.
Unlike golf, where you've got a bag of clubs, you've got two legs, and you're carrying them yourself. Do you need a caddy for this? You do?
You do?
Yeah. Well, it's optional, but I'm bringing my son, Finn.
He's delighted.
Well, he is, but
He's going to Orlando.
he's a brilliant footballer. He's really good at setting me straight and bringing me back.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that.
I'll be really well. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, and you're going to stick around as well later. We've got some friends with us, some slimy friends. So don't forget, you can listen to All Start Monday on both Spotify and iTunes.
Okay, coming up next, Keith is actually sticking around to help us handle some creepy creatures. What could possibly go wrong? Back after this break. You're not in Orlando yet. Welcome back. We've decided to step outside our natural habitat this morning and get up close and personal with some creepy creatures. And as you can see, Keith is stayed with us. He's not one of the creepy creatures. No. He's one of our international superstars at the Foot Golf World Cup next week in Orlando.
And he's up for the challenge today because we've got James Hennessy, who is the manager with the National Reptile Zoo in Kilkenny, and he's here this morning. Good morning, James. It's great to have you on.
Thanks.
It's the only one of its kind in the country. So talk to us about the National Reptile Zoo in Kilkenny.
So we opened in 2006.
Yeah.
And we started off really small, and we've moved into the city just before COVID, which was its own nightmare. And we've got about over 150 animals now. And we get to close to about 50,000 visitors a year.
Wow. And I know you've brought a couple of your friends with us today, but what else have you got on site?
On site, we've got everything from big American alligators, we've got cobras, we've got snapping turtles.
Can I ask you a question? So I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to be in Florida.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know if I mentioned, lads. I'm going to Orlando.
You are going?
Yeah, I'm going to Florida.
No, you mentioned. When are you going? Why?
I'm going to be on a golf course with water.
Gators love golf.
So what do I do if I do I
get
approach
to enjoy
them?
the gators? Yeah, no, there's been some horrific incidents with golfers trying to move gators. Do not approach the gator.
And you got to run in a zigzag if it does end up chasing you. I heard that. Is that right?
Not quite. So gators are going to attack from the water. Yeah, they're only going to attack really from the water for food.
Okay.
Once they're out in land, they're basking and enjoying themselves.
All right.
So they don't want to get back into the water. So if he's chased you and grabbed you, you're gone. If he's chased you and missed you, you've gotten away. You don't need to run the zigzag.
Because the guy, the guy in Happy Gilmore with the wooden hand.
Yeah.
Yep, that could be you.
That could be me. I'll come back. I'll come back. My new show and everything will be. I'll be promoting my wooden hand.
And you know what? We'll bring you in and talk to you about it. Like, no question. But I'm talking like gators will only hunt when they're hungry, whereas crocodiles, if it's put in front of them, they'll go for it.
No, it's the same.
Oh, really?
It's the same, yeah. But crocodiles can take bigger prey than they will eat at the time. So they might take a huge, huge animal like a zebra, for instance, in Africa, and they won't be able to finish the whole zebra, but they'll eat most of it, and then they'll leave the rest, but they may come back to it. But the chances are some other animals will have taken it before.
Yeah.
That's like when you put your dinner in the fridge. I'll come back to that, and someone else is gone.
Take away for the next morning.
So what do you feed them?
Our menu's pretty varied because we got a lot of herbivores as well. So we start with things like dandelion, and we go all the way up to little pinky mice, eggs, rats, chickens, ducks, rabbits.
Okay.
Small children, if you got a few.
He's joking. He's joking.
So, this is Tony here.
Tony, yeah, with an eye.
What's Tony's diet?
So Tony's on mostly rats. So
Rats,
these guys in Africa, where they're from, will eat a thing called a jerboa, which is
Uh-huh.
a rodent. So we give them something as similar to that as we can.
Okay.
And she feeds about once every 1 week to 10 days, depending on time of year.
Yeah, okay.
Right. What else have you brought with you today?
So we've
can I
got
ask?
one of the guys who was born actually in the zoo. So we've got our tortoise.
So an Irish-born reptile.
Yeah, who was born actually on about the month that we moved from COVID. He was.
That's the intermittent fasting. She has it down. 1 meal every 10 days. Sorted.
So this is a guy in 2019, and when he was born, he came out of an egg. His Tank is his name. So his egg was about the size of a table tennis ball.
Okay.
So we breed quite a lot of species as well, especially the more endangered ones, which is the whole purpose of the zoo. So he was born here. So we've hung on to him. The others went to other zoos.
Okay.
And is it true that tortoise feed on hyena poop?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So these guys, again, being an African species, they're eating mostly grasses and dry plants.
Yeah.
So when they find that extra protein, hyena poo,
Wow.
they'll go hell for leather
How are
for
you
that.
getting the hyena poo?
Yeah, that's the difficult part. Yeah.
At the airport.
In customs.
So we'll substitute that with pinky mice and little bits of meat.
Okay. So for Christmas, maybe you might get a little bit of dog poo or something.
Exactly. If we can find just the right stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely.
Okay. What else have you got for us?
So we'll put him back. So we've got our blue-tongued skink.
Blue tongue skink.
And Barry was another
skink.
It's blue tongue.
I thought it was a
skink.
misprint. I was expecting a skunk.
A skunk, yeah. And a skink.
Oh,
Everyone
it's
says,
a
what is a skink? And this is a skink.
Lovely. Oh, lovely. Can I?
Yeah, and he's fine to touch.
What's his name?
She's fine to touch.
What's her name?
So Barry, from Australia.
Oh,
Papua
Barry.
New Guinea. So Barry, and if you want to pick her up,
Yeah.
we'll put a hand under her front legs and under her back legs.
Sorry, Barry.
So she feels nice and secure.
Oh.
So Barry breeds for us as well every year and has live babies.
No way. Look at the ears
So
as well.
Barry, these are really, really hard to tell if they're male or female when they're young.
Oh, blue tongue. There we saw the
Exactly,
blue
yeah.
tongue.
And that's his or her defense mechanism. So if something tries to eat it, it sticks out this blue tongue and the predator gets a little bit of a shock, doesn't know what's going on. Is it toxic? Is it venomous? And leaves them alone.
Okay, not the blue M&Ms then.
Not the blue M&M.
The other thing it does as well is it tends to resemble a snake quite a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's moving through the grasslands.
So
and stuff.
how many babies? How many babies has she?
She has she's had from between 10 and 13.
10.
And the babies are about this big when they're born. They're huge. It's almost impossible to see where they
does she
fit
put
when they come out. And they're live born as well, so they don't lay eggs. So these guys
They're
are actually
live born.
Yeah, so they have live babies, and they're perfectly able of looking after themselves the minute they come out.
No way. So they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So would she be the latest addition to the family, or who is in the
She's-
in the National Reptiles?
No, our latest would be probably our Mangshan pit viper, which was only rediscovered in the wild about 12, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Or not rediscovered, sorry, discovered for the first time
Yeah.
in the wild. So we've got one of those, which we're hopefully it's going to be a part of a breeding program later on.
Okay.
If a 14-year-old boy wanted to buy a reptile for his bedroom, what would you recommend? Not.
Possibly not.
Say no.
It depends, yeah.
Say no.
Ideally
Said
not.
no.
Ideally
That's it.
not. Yeah. So
That's
it's
it.
He's
it
going
just
to
depends.
Orlando. You should be happy with that.
I'd
Yeah,
advise
no.
lots of research first, and then maybe think about it again. Yeah.
Okay.
And see how it
Okay.
goes.
Okay. So that's our skink.
Yeah.
What
so
else have you got?
I'm going to get Owen to come over with the next one. So Owen's going to come over with Rosie.
Okay.
Rosie.
And Rosie's our Chilean rose-haired tarantula from Chile.
Right.
How are you
Okay.
with spiders?
How are you with spiders?
I'm not afraid of spiders
Yeah.
now, but
Should
I
be. I'm
don't
joking,
know if I'm
joking.
going to hold this one. Because what if it goes up my sleeves?
So
Is this
This one's
venomous?
pretty relaxed. So all spiders are venomous, even the ones in our house.
Right.
The majority are not medically significant to humans. So someone
You can
try
take
hold
this
it?
one away, Keith.
This is just a little bit bigger than what you might find in your house.
You know, the people put pictures up on Twitter and go, "This is in my house. What is it?"
Yeah, it's
It's-
and
yeah.
let me tell you, it's not the size of
Not
this
this.
fella, and it's not a tarantula. You see, my brother and I, we used to try and catch a spider at the start of the summer, and
Did it
we'd
look like this?
leave it in our room, and we never had a problem with flies.
Keep your distance now.
Never
Keith.
had a problem with flies.
Keep your distance.
Yeah.
So you're is this your kind of celebrity moment?
You're stuck with her now.
Okay,
So, yeah, so she does have two nice big fangs in the front.
And would she
And
give you
she'll-
a nip?
So and at this point, she thinks your hand is the ground. So she's got no reason to bite the ground. They're very simple, basic animals. So unless you're attacking it, if I was to blow on it or put my hand over it or do something I shouldn't, in which case you get a fright. Her first form of defence would be to escape, to get away.
Okay.
Her second form of defence, if she felt she couldn't get away, then might be.
I think she's
defend
casing you
herself.
out, Keith.
Yeah, I'm like,
she's-
I am the ground.
She's
Don't
a pretty
bite me.
relaxed species, in fairness.
She's beautiful,
And
isn't she?
James,
She's gorgeous, yeah.
will you tell us now about your experience? You went to Uganda to help out
Yeah.
at a zoo. What was that like?
So the zoo kind of covers a lot of conservation projects in the world.
Yeah.
So Uganda's an incredible country.
Yeah.
So we're trying to help there with a couple of villages that a lot of people are getting taken by Nile crocodiles. And then the crocodiles get killed because they're a threat to people. So we're trying to help them coexist a little bit and trying to find solutions for how they can get to the water without getting eaten by crocs, the mistakes that they're making by becoming croc food.
Okay,
So
we've got one more.
we've got one more, yeah. I'm
friend
going to grab a snake. I'll get on to take the
I'll hold on to
take the
this,
tarantula back. Unless you want to keep him. And we'll get our last guy.
tarantula.
I think Rosie really likes you.
That's fallen in love.
likes you.
I don't know how you'll get it through the airport, and
It's my comfort pet. Sit
This one you
beside
can-
me on the
everybody
Well,
can hold this
you
one.
hold the top, I'll hold the bottom.
this is
This is a Macklot's python, or a freckled
You're gonna
python,
take
they're
this?
called as well. This is Mr. T, even though it's a girl, it's Mr. T.
yeah, but again, it's because you couldn't tell at
We
first.
couldn't tell you. When they're
can
babies,
feel the
you got to
muscles
probe
on
them to
this
know.
baby.
Yes, there's about 8,000 muscles here.
You know, the skin is almost iridescent. It's
It
beautiful.
is, yeah. You can see under the studio lights, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
And this is full size.
That's pretty much an adult, yeah. It
Yeah,
won't get-
yeah.
So the thing with reptiles is they stay growing all the way through their life. They never stop growing. But the growth rate slows right down. So after they've hit maturity, the extra growth, they don't need to do so much, so it slows way down. So that's
Okay.
kind of
So like our good selves, do they stop growing in length and start growing in width?
They do, and that's a big problem in captivity. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to watch that. So I mean, looking at a snake, it's not like there's a spare tire we can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to judge the condition of an animal. So we've got to we do a lot of enrichment and things like that to make
Now,
sure.
a lot of people will say animals shouldn't be kept in zoos, but I know you do keep them in their correct habitat and temperature. What would you have to say about that?
So yeah, I mean, if we didn't keep these guys
Oh, she's got her arm.
in the zoo, we wouldn't be able to learn about them.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know how to help them in the world.
Yeah.
You know, also we're like an ark where we've got like a captive breeding program. So as they disappear in the world, we can replenish it.
The six-pack on that, look. 6 pack.
Wow.
That's a 15.
This one's
15
active.
million.
Yeah.
This one's very active.
I think she's fallen in love with you.
Yeah,
Keith.
no, I think all the pets
I
love
think you'll have to bring her back a present from Orlando. hopefully the World Cup. For more information
Jesus, sorry.
about what James and the crew do, you can visit nationalreptilezoo.ie. Sorry, I'm over here.
Coming.
Shout out to our captain Ronan as well.
Yeah, shout out to Ronan. Now, coming up, white shirts for summer fashion is after this very quick break. Now, thanks for staying with us. Today, we're showcasing a staple of your summer wardrobe, the humble white shirt.
And stylist Rosalind Lipsis joins us. And there's nothing humble about your looks this morning, Ros.
Oh, well,
Classe.
all you need in your wardrobe. I think we got the memo here today. Everyone seems to be wearing a form of a white shirt.
I had the white shirt on yesterday, just missed it by a day. But, you know, we couldn't all look like three stooges in our three identical outfits. So, anyway, what first look do
It
you have
works
for us
for
this morning?
every
'Cause it's gorgeous.
occasion. So we're going to show you how to style the classic white shirt in a variety of different ways for a variety of occasions. So first up, we have Joy here, and this is for your kind of dinner. You know, you're going on a dinner date, or you're going from office to, you know, maybe a restaurant with friends. This is a really chic way to put on a white shirt. And we're going to start off with the jewellery today. All the jewellery is from Irish Design, Scribble and Stone. They're based in Rathmines, and they are really beautiful. Everything's really intricately made. It's all gold filled. So, you know, a lot of the jewellery is gold plated. that this is gold filled, so there is actually more gold in it.
Yeah.
It's tarnish free. It's got this beautiful Howlett gemstone detail here on the earrings and then on the necklace as well. And it's absolutely stunning. Really, really nice statement pieces. And I think that's always lovely when you're wearing a white shirt, just to make a pop with a statement piece of jewellery.
And so the blazer here is another staple piece. It does complement the white shirt so much. Where's that one from?
Exactly. So this whole look is from On Trend, and this blazer is such a versatile piece. It'll work so hard because that neutral colour you can wear all year round. It already has the ruched sleeved detail, as we can see here, and then I've teamed it with the classic croc leather pants. These are so fab. They're so comfortable, and you're going to really dress up a really plain kind of white shirt for a more of a va-va-voom Victoria Beckham style look. Then we're going to go on to the shoes. The shoes are from Murphy's Shoes. They are Lodi shoes. They are beautiful platinum block heel, and they're in gold. Again, very va-va-voom. You're
Very
not ready to go
versatile
out
as well.
with
They're
that.
comfortable as well.
Yeah, they are. They have the gel insole.
Now we're dressing down now for the beach.
This is how to wear a casual linen white shirt, and it is such a relaxed look for everyone that's planning their staycations or their vacations. I will be living in linen this summer.
The shirt is from?
The shirt is from Pamela Scott, and the full outfit is from Pamela Scott, including the hat and the bag. This is a great fedora, protecting you from the sun, yet looking super chic and fun and beachy. Again, we have some gorgeous gold-filled jewellery here from Scribble and Stone. We've got the little huggies and the gorgeous necklace here with the saucer plates.
Beautiful.
Then we're going to go on to this really comfortable shirt. It has these really nice deep pockets, so perfect for putting your phone in when you're going to walk, to the shop when you're at the beach.
Yeah.
It comes in a wide range of colours, from green to a lovely light blue and even a lovely kind of bright orange as well, which is really, really gorgeous. I love this shirt. This shirt is perfect for the summer months. Linen is so, so breathable. And then we're going to go on to the classic espadrilles. You can't go wrong with a pair of espadrilles. They will work so hard for you. They're perfect on, the green or on sand, and they really will just go with absolutely everything in your wardrobe. This is, again, a lovely neutral tone, so works really, really well for that beach look.
Yeah.
And now we're going for another really chic look. There's nothing boring about the white shirt.
No.
You can just open up a button and you're office to play. We are going to start off again with this beautiful blazer and shirt. The shirt is from On Trend, this whole look is. And there's nothing like, we're going to do the jewellery now. And this is a gorgeous herringbone necklace, just a really simple, delicate piece, a really beautiful gold-filled piece there. Everything is designed in Rathmines, it's Irish made, and the quality of Scribble and Stone is absolutely gorgeous. Then we're going to go on to this look. If you really want to make your white shirt pop, why not add a big floaty skirt? Carolina Herrera made that famous. She was a big fan of just wearing a white skirt and a white shirt and a big skirt.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Here, this is kind of like an artistic looking skirt. It's got these beautiful brush strokes, but it could also be really nice if you were going to a black tie event and you wanted to just get a really full skirt with a white shirt. I love that look. It was really made famous by Carolina Herrera. Now we are going on to these gorgeous wedge shoes, again from Murphy's. These are, again, the Lodi shoes. They are a beautiful tan colour. They're 100% leather, really, really comfortable, as they do have the gel insole. And again, we're going to be living in our wedges and our open toe shoes for the next few months. They are a little bit more on the expensive price point, but you will be wearing them a lot.
They look very comfortable, I have to say.
You can pair of those once, you can pair of those forever. I mean,
Yeah.
they just don't break, and they have.
I'm wearing them
You've
myself.
got one
now.
on,
I was actually, they look comfortable.
They go with absolutely everything. They're just that kind of shoe
Yeah.
that you will literally make work with everything.
Yeah.
And especially if you want to go on holidays as well and you don't want to wear a load of colours, that will literally match absolutely everything.
Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, we have the beach look again. How to style your shorts with a white shirt. This look is from Pamela Scott, in stores nationwide and online at pamelascott.com. This is the beautiful linen shirt teamed with a cami here. Again, we have the gorgeous jewellery from Scribble and Stone to add a pop of glam to your beach look. I love gold at the beach.
That's
It
an
always looks
unusual
so
earring,
fab.
isn't it?
It is. It's got
It's
basically
run through. It's like a rope earring.
Yes. So the bar is this side and then the chain is the other side, and it's really long.
So pretty.
It's a really interesting piece, and it really does spice up.
Is it just
this
for one
look.
ear or are they go on both?
They're in both, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Then we have the fedora and then the linen shirt look. So classic, perfect for your trip to Spain, or hopefully we get a nice heat wave here in Ireland. The hat is $15.99, a really great piece to keep you shaded from the sun, and I am feeling the holiday vibes here. I love the straw bag. It's got the striped pattern detail, a really good size, and really, really, you'll just fit absolutely everything
It
in
really
there.
complements the hat perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah,
The bag.
it does.
It's a very crisp summer look, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is. It's making me want to book my holidays. I haven't booked yet. Then these gorgeous shorts. Now we're going to go onto the shoes again. These are another wedge. I absolutely love the patterned colour of the white. It really pops and makes it makes the whole look really glam. Again, these are from Murphy's Shoes and the brand is Unessa. They have such a gorgeous range of shoes there at Murphy's, and all again with a gel insole. So really, really comfortable, perfect for that barbecue when you're standing all day.
You don't want to be uncomfortable in shoes. I think after lockdown, nobody wants to be wearing uncomfortable shoes ever
Yeah,
again. Anyway,
exactly.
thank you
You've
so
nailed
much
it.
for joining us this morning.
Wow.
Now over to Martin.
Place flour into a large mixing bowl with butter and rub into fine breadcrumbs of dough. Roll out the dough, then transfer into a pie dish. Chill for 30 minutes, then place on a baking sheet and bake for 10 minutes. For the quiche mix, saute your bacon lardons, then add shallots. Whisk your cayenne, nutmeg, eggs and cream together. Then spread the shallots and bacon across the bottom and top. Combine everything and bake for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the size of the tin. Then you've got a quiche Lorraine.
Coming up tomorrow, she's the nation's favourite nun, and she's from Cork. Derry girl Siobhan McSweeney tells us about her wonderful BAFTA win.
Excited about that. And move over Patrick Swayze. We couldn't bring in the host of the Great Pottery Showdown without trying some pottery making for ourselves.
Oh no. We'll have advice for sleeping, especially for your children sleeping in the warmer summer nights. And we've strawberry crepes for a mid-morning treat. Oh, yes.
All that plus the new sport and weather you're waking up to. We're back tomorrow from 9 a.m. See you then.
See you then.
Bye-bye. Good luck to Casey.
Yeah, you got it. But you can't beat that if you're boxing anyway, actually. It's hilarious.